You know, when you build a life with someone, you don't just invest time. You invest hope. Belief. You build a world where they're your center, your home. And that's what Clarice was to me. Or so I thought. We met when I was 30. She was 27. I still remember the exact moment, in line at a bookstore cafe. She was reading Anna Karenina, muttering something about how every man in that novel was either a coward or a dreamer. I said something stupid, I don't even remember what, but she laughed. And in that second, I knew. She wasn't just beautiful. She had presence. She made silence feel like poetry. She turned rainy afternoons into something worth remembering. We got married after just over a year of dating. Quick, I know. Friends warned us. My brothers teased me. But I didn't care. With Clarice, it felt right. It felt like we were sprinting towards something rare, something most people spend years chasing and never find. So I took the leap. I didn't hesitate. I bought the ring. I gave her my name. And more than that, I gave her everything else. At the time, I was running a jewelry business with my brothers. Family-owned, family-built, blood, sweat, weekends without sleep. But we made it. The store was thriving. We were known around town for custom wedding sets, anniversary diamonds, symbols of love, commitment, the very things I thought I had figured out. Clarice, though, she wanted something of her own. She'd always dreamed of owning a book cafe. A quiet space where people could sip espresso and get lost in stories. So I helped her build it. Paid the rent, helped renovate the interior. Every weekend, I was there, drilling shelves, painting walls, arranging tables. She chose the name, Chapter 1. I thought we were writing our own. The place opened in the spring. It smelled like new wood and coffee beans, and her face that day. I'll never forget it. She looked alive, like she'd finally stepped into her story. And every night, she'd come home full of light, telling me about the regulars, the book clubs, the college kids who stayed late debating Tolstoy versus Murakami. I loved seeing her happy, because that's what love is, right? You don't just want someone to be with you. You want them to be themselves, fully, fearlessly. And you support them while they chase that. But then, things changed. It started small. Tiny shifts that didn't even register at first. She began staying later after closing. She was tired more often. She stopped asking how my day was. And then one evening, I remember it too well, she sat across from me at dinner, stirring her tea, and casually mentioned him. There's this guy who keeps coming to the cafe, she said, almost offhand. Ivan. From Serbia. Crazy accent. Looks like he stepped out of a movie. She laughed, shaking her head, but her eyes didn't match her tone. They lit up, in that quiet, dangerous way you only notice when you've been in love long enough to sense when something's wrong. He always orders the same thing, she added, flat white, no sugar. And he reads real books, not just TikTok recommendations. I smiled politely. Made some joke about finally getting international clientele. But inside, something sank. Because it wasn't what she said. It was how she said it. She wasn't describing a customer. She was describing a crush. At first, I pushed it away. I mean, come on, people flirt. People admire others. It doesn't mean anything, right? We're human. And we were married. That had to mean something. But over the next few weeks, her stories about Ivan didn't stop. They got longer. More detailed. What he wore. What he said about the books she recommended. How he complimented the cafe's warm, personal feel. How he said she was the heart of it. And I realized something terrifying. I was watching my wife fall in love with another man in real time. Not with passion. Not with fireworks. But with slow, daily attention. And the worst part? She didn't even see it. She didn't see that every sentence she spoke about him chipped away at us. At me. She didn't see that I had stopped being the person she was excited to tell stories to. I had become the one she edited her stories for. I didn't confront her. Not yet. Because when you're on the edge of something breaking, you don't rush it. You listen. You watch. You pray you're wrong. Even when every bone in your body tells you you're right. There's a moment in every storm where the wind changes direction. You don't feel the rain yet. But you know it's coming. That moment for me? It was a Tuesday. Nothing dramatic. Just an ordinary day until it wasn't. Clarice had come home late from the cafe. Not the first time. Not even the third. But this time, she didn't rush to explain. No quick excuse. No guilt. No fake apology. Just a shrug. And that little smirk. Long day? I asked, keeping my tone light. She murmured, walking past me, kicking off her shoes. You know how it is. Coffee machines breaking. Customers talking your ear off. Then she laughed, more to herself than to me. And in that laugh, I heard someone else's name. She didn't say it. She didn't need to. That smirk, that look, that quiet buzz around her, it wasn't for me. She was replaying something. Something recent. Something real. And whoever it was with, it wasn't me. I followed her into the kitchen. She poured herself a glass of wine. Didn't ask if I wanted one. Didn't even glance in my direction. I watched her lean against the counter, phone in one hand, scrolling, then smiling. A small, intimate smile. Like she was in two places at once, and I was in neither. You good? I asked again, this time more direct. She didn't even look up. Yeah, why wouldn't I be? That's when I knew. Whatever was going on, it had already crossed the line. I started noticing the patterns. She'd leave the house looking a little too polished for a café shift. New lipstick. Heels I hadn't seen since our last vacation. The errands that took hours. The text she replied to with her back turned. The way she laughed a little too quickly when I brought up the word loyalty in any context. She was slipping away in plain sight. And the worst part? She didn't even care if I saw it. One night, I offered to drop by the café. Bring her dinner. Surprise her. Something I used to do in the early days, when we were still us. You don't have to, she said quickly. I'm swamped. No time to eat anyway. But her voice was rushed. Defensive. That's when I started checking the receipts. I'd swipe the credit card statement on my phone. Look at timestamps. Track locations. And there it was. Multiple charges for a boutique hotel bar downtown. Same place. Same time. Every Friday night. Always charged to her card, like she wasn't even trying to hide it. I didn't react. Not right away. Because now, I wasn't just a husband. I was an observer. A man documenting the collapse of his own life like a bystander at a building fire. And somehow, that made it easier to breathe. It gave me purpose. If she thought I was too blind to see, I would make sure I saw everything. Then came the moment that changed everything. I drove past the cafe one evening. She had told me she was closing early, heading home to rest. But the lights were still on. And parked right outside, leaning against the glass window like a scene from a bad romance film, was him. Tall. Clean-cut. Confident. The kind of guy who smirks like he knows something you don't. And Clarice? She was inside, laughing. Head tilted back. Eyes locked on him like he was her favorite book and she was memorizing every word. He reached out, tucked a strand of her hair behind her ear. She didn't pull away. She leaned in. I sat in my car, frozen. The engine still running. My hands locked on the wheel. There it was. Confirmation. Not in words. Not in text. But in body language. In chemistry. In how easily she forgot I existed when he was near. I drove home. Didn't say a thing. Didn't leave a note. Didn't check her phone. Didn't call her out. Because now, I had no reason to chase lies. The truth had walked right up to me and smiled. You know what's funny? The place I helped build, the cafe with the warm lights, mismatched chairs, and little handwritten signs on the walls, it became her escape. Her stage. Her sanctuary. Her hiding place. And it became my hell. It was a Saturday morning when I decided to go. No warning. No text. No reason given. I just walked through the door like any other customer. And when I stepped inside, it hit me. This place didn't belong to us anymore. It belonged to her and whatever life she'd started building without me. The music playing softly in the background. The smell of cinnamon and coffee. The cozy little reading nook in the back, where she used to sit with her notebook, now occupied by him. Yes, him. Ivan. He was sitting there like he'd owned the place for years. One leg crossed over the other. Book in one hand. Coffee in the other. That smirk still painted on his face like it never left. And Clarice? She was behind the counter, smiling, not the polite smile you give strangers, but the kind of smile that says, I see you, I want you, I belong to you. And when her eyes landed on me, she froze. Just for a second. But it was enough. Her hand tightened on the milk jug. Her posture shifted, like someone had walked into a secret they hadn't finished cleaning up. Hey, she said, voice tighter than usual. Didn't expect you. No hug. No kiss. No warmth. Just surprise. And something else behind her eyes, panic. I smiled. A calm, steady, unbothered smile. Thought I'd grab a coffee. Support the business. Maybe see my wife in her element. Ivan looked up from his book then. Locked eyes with me. He knew who I was. I saw it in the way he blinked once, then smiled like he pitied me. Nice place, he said coolly. Thanks, I replied. I paid for the floors. His smirk faded just a touch. I sat at a table across the room and watched them. How she hovered near him. How they spoke in quiet tones that stopped when I leaned forward. How she laughed nervously at jokes that weren't funny. I didn't need a confrontation. Not there. Not then. What I needed was to see. To feel it. To stop making excuses. And that morning, sitting in the very room I had helped paint, furnish, and fund, I finally saw the truth in full light. She wasn't mine anymore. Maybe she hadn't been for a long time. When I stood to leave, she followed me out the door. Wait, she said. Don't do this here. Do what? I asked. Buy a latte? You're being passive-aggressive. I'm being calm, I said. Which is more than I can say for someone who built an entire second life in a coffee shop I helped you open. Her mouth opened, closed. She had no words. No denial. No apology. Because the truth was written on her face, in her silence, and in the way she didn't run after me when I walked away. And that's when it hit me. The betrayal didn't start with Ivan. It didn't even start with secrets. It started the moment she stopped choosing us. And now, I was done choosing her. There's a moment, after grief, after shock, after betrayal, where something inside you clicks. Not with anger, not with tears, but with clarity. And in that clarity, you stop asking, why did she do this? And start asking, what am I going to do next? That moment came the day after the cafe. I woke up before dawn. Clarice was still asleep, hair tousled, face peaceful. Like the night hadn't carved holes in my chest. I watched her for a second, not out of affection, but out of disbelief. How do you share a bed with someone who's been sharing their soul with someone else? How do you pretend that nothing's broken when the fracture is so loud it echoes in every breath? So I got up, and I started taking things back. Not physically, not violently, but symbolically. First, I opened my laptop, accessed the bank account I'd set up when we married, the joint one. I moved out the money I had deposited, every cent I'd earned, every bonus I hadn't touched, left only what she'd contributed. A clean line between mine and hers. Not out of spite, but out of fairness. Because betrayal doesn't come with alimony in advance. Then, I checked the paperwork. The cafe's lease. In my name. The startup loan. My credit. I hadn't asked for a signature back then. I trusted her. But now I trusted the law more than I trusted her smile. So I called the landlord. Explained the situation, made arrangements. She could keep her little haven, but not on my name, not on my dime. I wasn't taking revenge. I was taking ownership of my money, my energy, my worth. She came home late again that night. Smelled like perfume that wasn't hers, laughed at a text she didn't show me. She walked past me in the hallway, paused, then turned, sensing something had shifted. You okay? She asked. I looked up, and for the first time in months, maybe years, I felt calm. Yeah, I said. Actually, I am. She didn't press. Maybe she felt it, maybe she knew. The foundation had cracked beneath her, and I wasn't holding it up anymore. The next morning, I left the divorce papers on the kitchen table, neatly stacked, signed, dated, with a note on top. You chose your chapter, Now I'm writing mine. No fights, no ultimatums, no more questions. Just action. Because some betrayals don't deserve fireworks, They deserve a man who walks away. Without looking back. I didn't wait for the apology. I didn't need it. Because by the time she realized what she lost, I was already gone. I left on a Tuesday, Same day of the week she used to say was her Ivan day, back when I still believed it was just another shift at the cafe. There was no suitcase, no slammed doors, no drawn-out monologue. Just a quiet morning, and a man who had finally stopped clinging to a story that was already over. I folded my clothes neatly into a small duffel, Took only what I needed, my passport, a few shirts, the ring I used to wear, not because I wanted to keep it, but because it reminded me of who I once was. Before I let someone rewrite me. She came into the room just as I was zipping the bag. Still in her robe, eyes bleary, voice soft. Where are you going? I didn't answer right away, because I wasn't sure how to say. Somewhere you're not. So I said nothing. Just looked her in the eye. And that silence, it said everything. Please, she whispered. Don't do this. Now she wanted to fight. Now she wanted to ask questions. But she never asked the right ones when it mattered. She never noticed the man in front of her while she chased the stranger in the cafe. You chose him, I said. Again and again. I just didn't want to believe it. It didn't mean anything, she said. I almost laughed. It meant enough for you to risk everything. She cried. Big, desperate tears. The kind that come not from guilt, but from loss. And I let her cry. Not to punish her. But because I couldn't fix this anymore. I had stopped being the glue in our story. And now she could sit in the wreckage of the pages she tore out, one lie at a time. I walked out. No dramatic farewell. No last-minute reversal. The door didn't slam. It closed gently. Behind me. And forever. Outside, the world felt real again. The air was cold. The wind bit my face. But I was awake. For the first time in years, I felt like me again. Not a husband. Not a fool. Not a man trying to hold up a broken house. Just free. And that silence I left behind? It was louder than anything I could have screamed.